Thank you for joining us on this webinar. My name is Mark Duckworth from the Artis Group. What we're going to run through this afternoon is Microsoft Dynamics 365 for Field Service. For those that don't know what Microsoft Dynamics 365 is all about, on our website at artisgroup.com.au, we have some previous webinars. One is an overview of Dynamics 365, and the second one is on Dynamics 365 for sales, which runs through the sales process or application of Dynamics 365. Yet today we're going to run through the field service application, which is very applicable to your industry, and I've got Graham Rock with me on the call, and Graham's going to talk through on how the Dynamics 365 for field service application can be applied to the renewable energy and especially the solar energy sector. So Graham, thanks for joining us, and I'll hand over to you.
Great, thanks Mark, and welcome everyone. We've got a number of pain points that we're really looking to address. They might not necessarily be specific to the renewable energy industry, but they're certainly very, very relevant. We need to ensure that our customer quotes are accurate. Everything from choosing and providing appropriate products, accurate product information, all the way through to the sales team and the pricing of those products ready for the preparation of quotes. We need to ensure those customer work orders are scheduled efficiently for the right field services teams at the right time and maintain excellent customer communication throughout. We need to ensure that when we're out on site, we've got the right tools and the right information to record what it is that we've done, and those activities are accurately recorded against the job that we're performing. And we also need to make sure that we provide all the safety awareness and guidance for our people so that they can give us the information they need to provide on safety activities out on site. We can record that information, it can get reported back to base, and then we can report on that information all the way through to the information that we provide to the sales team and the consequent pricing that we put in front of our customers. We certainly need to ensure that those customer work orders are scheduled for the right field services teams at the right time with excellent customer communication along the way. We need to ensure that when we're out on site, we've got the right tools to be able to do exactly what we need, and that we can record exactly what we've done, and the information that we record gets accurately recorded against the job and reported to base. And we also need to drive some safety awareness, including guiding our people through exactly what they need to do to prepare for their on-site work, gathering feedback, and then reporting those results. So really the areas of focus that I'd like to spend some time on today are about our sales activities, the things that we need to do before we begin, the preparation work that we have to do, which might be peculiar to the renewable energy sector. So our solution includes some additional information that we record about products, those product properties, the opportunities that we're working on, and even the way that we integrate and do calculations for small-scale technology certificates. Now I want to talk about field services activities, everything from the activities and processes that we use for managing those field services crews, including the work order generation, the scheduling activities, and we'll have a look at the mobile application itself. So as I said before we begin, I just want to look at products and product properties, kits, which are bundles of products, opportunity properties, and STCs. So our products pretty much have all the same attributes. So we're having a look at a subset of product details here from Dynamics 365. And we have things like the name of the product identifier, the family that that product is in, as well as the default units that we use to measure those products, the vendor that it comes from, costs, etc. So it doesn't really matter what product we're looking at, we're going to share a lot of those same attributes. When we have a look at product properties though, those product properties are peculiar to this particular product based on the family that it lives in. So in this example, these Trina smart panels have product properties such as a model number or an output in watts. If we were looking at a different sort of product, for example an inverter, the product properties that we'd have associated with that would be quite different. For example, the inverter has a current associated with it being AC or DC or a particular phase. So why are these product properties so important? When we build up our product catalogue and we make sure that we store accurate attributes, we certainly enhance our accuracy in putting together our customer quotes, the accuracy in the purchase order process, especially when we split a product kit into multiple purchase orders for multiple vendors. And these things form the essential foundation also for our automated STC calculations, which is part of the solution. So as an example, the product properties that we have here for these panels, we know what the output wattage of those panels are. So when we're putting together an STC calculation, we can take that into account as part of that calculation process. If we were to look at kits, we share a lot of the same attributes as products. Really, a kit is just an element, but it's made up of a number of other products as well. So we might have the same things like name, product ID, the family hierarchy that it's in. We may not have a default vendor because this kit might be made up of a bundle of products which may come from a number of different suppliers or vendors. So on the right hand side there you can see our bundle of products, which is made up of panels, the mounting kits for the roof, the isolator, etc. And we also record whether or not those products as part of this product bundle are required in the kit or whether they might be optional. So a good example here is that we've got a kit that we're going to fix to a roof, but we need to know what type of roof it's going to go on in order to make sure we have the right mounting kit for that. So why is this important? It certainly guides people in the sales and quoting process, leading to some additional accuracy in our customer quotes. It's certainly very important for the purchase order flexibility that we have in our solution. I mentioned earlier on that when we order a kit, we may well break that kit into multiple purchase orders and send those purchase orders off to different vendors. And then there are other attributes that we store as part of the opportunity that we might be working on, which are going to be useful during the customer life cycle. So I'll highlight a few of those here and describe their relevance. But our solution has upwards of 90 additional attributes that we're storing on those opportunities, which is specific and peculiar to the renewable energies sector. So things like the account on the opportunity. The reason why this is important for us to record accurately is that account is going to have an installation address associated with it. So we may well use that installation address in order for us to allocate this job to a particular territory and a particular field services crew. So we'll talk about that in a moment. We've also got things like the opportunity type. Now this is valuable for STC calculations and certainly the GST treatment of those STC calculations, which is different between residential versus commercial. We've got things like the installation year, which is extremely relevant and important when it comes to our automated STC calculation. We have a price list associated with this opportunity, very important for the purpose of providing accurate quoting, because we may well have different prices for products in different territories. We might have seasonal special pricing that we're providing, and certainly that price list might indicate that we're doing this installation in a certain location, and therefore we need that information for our STC calculations. And we've got a raft of different site details, and what we're looking at here is just a subset of what some of those site details are. So in this instance, we do record what type of roof we might be doing this installation on, and that's very relevant for that previous slide when we're looking at the kit and the optional components or optional modules that we might have that we have to include as part of our quoting process. So why is all this information important? Well, it certainly guides people during the course of the sales and quoting process. It certainly enhances the accuracy that we get in our customer quotes. It's important foundation information for the STC calculation accuracy, and certainly important information when it comes to ordering. So our solution really caters for the correct treatment of those STCs, including the GST treatment differences there are between residential and commercial opportunities. And it certainly can enhance the way and automate the way that the STCs are calculated so that you take one of those moving parts out of the equation. It's very important for the purpose of opportunity expected revenues quoting and also our pipeline and forecast reporting. So all of that information I've given you really is foundation information for what we're going to talk about now, which is all of our field services activities. As we go through and look at things like sales orders, work orders, the schedule board, and the field services mobile application, I'll refer back to some of the things that I've talked about so that you understand the relevance of those. So you'll reach a stage in the sales cycle where you've reached the point where the customer has decided to sign off on this quote. So this opportunity has progressed to the end point where we've received, we've sent out a quote to a customer and they've indicated they want to go ahead with that order. So what we've done here is to say, yeah, we've reached the stage where the customer has signed off that proposal and we're going to go ahead and create the sales order. The rationale for doing that at this stage is that it starts to put in motion some of the financial impacts and financial implications of making this decision. For example, the process of taking a deposit for this particular sale, and that's something that our solution caters for. During the course of the sales cycle, we might have had a lot of other field service activities that were required during the process. For example, scheduling somebody to go out and do a technical site inspection, or they have to go out and perform a certificate of electrical compliance design. So our solution caters for generating those work orders and managing the schedule of any of the field services staff that might be associated with those activities. In this particular case, this is for an installation. So what we're going to go ahead and do is to convert this to a work order, and that work order is going to be a work order specifically for the installation work for this particular panel set. So importantly, when we create a work order, we inherit a lot of information from the opportunity, everything from the type of activity all the way through to additional documentation that might be required, all the way through to some information which we store and keep on the opportunity, which might not be relevant to the work order. They might have only been relevant for the sales cycle. And then there's other information such as site-specific information which is very relevant to the work order. So our solution makes sure that the work order inherits the right information, the relevant information, discards any information which isn't going to be relevant. So things like the work order type, very relevant for the work order because it'll dictate the sort of activities which are taking place in the field. But there's other information that we might capture at the time that we're putting together this work order that is going to be relevant for the purpose of scheduling this installation. So things like information we get back from the customer that talks about the start or end time windows that they want for installation, or the dates that they may want that installation to be done. So why is that important? A lot of those attributes are used by the schedule assistant in order to be able to schedule those field services activities. So we're going to have a look at that in now. So what we're looking at here is the schedule assistant. It's part of the field services application. And this field services application and the scheduling process uses a raft of different attributes that have come from the work order and some other criteria in order to make sure that you find the right field services crews to undertake the work. So we've got criteria such as the anticipated duration of the job. So this can be set automatically based on the type of job which is going to be done. We could take into account the travel time for a bookable resource's current location to the location where the installation is going to be done, and the proximity to that job location. All of those criteria are things that could be set on the work order, and we can use this set of criteria in order to find the right crew for the job. Other things such as certification requirements, equipment requirements, other customisable requirements might also be included. And the resources might also be allocated to particular territories. And so we can use those criteria to make sure that we find the right resource for the job. When we choose to source or search for those resources, we'll get a list of resources that comply or meet the criteria that we've specified. In this particular example, we have a few different bookable resources that are available, and we get some information about exactly what sort of considerations we have to make in order to choose the right bookable resource. So here we've got a number of resources that are available at particular times. They're a certain distance away from the job, and they're going to take into account things like the start and end times that might have come from the work order or from the installation window that we got from the customer, or overall availability of those bookable resources. What we're going to do is just schedule one of those particular accounts to the job. We choose them. It gives us information about when this resource is going to be available. We can adjust things like or take into account things like the estimated arrival time based on their proximity to the job. And we can go ahead and either schedule this person and then create a new schedule for an additional person if we need more than one bookable resource against this particular work order, or we can just go ahead and schedule and close this particular booking. What we're looking at here is not the scheduling assistant, but actually the schedule board. This gives the operators a lot of the information they need about all of the bookable resources, or bookable resources that meet certain criteria. For example, bookable resources that are in a particular territory, or that have particular attributes such as equipment or particular people. It also gives the operators a view of any of the work orders that could be currently unscheduled, and they can use criteria that come from those work orders to find the right field services people for the job. This view is entirely customisable. So in this particular view, we've filtered out particular resources based on certain criteria, and we've zoomed into just the days that they're available, the days they're allocated to jobs, and even what status there might be on that job. As I said, this view is completely customisable, so we can take into account customised attributes that we might have that may well form part of us choosing a particular resource, or just filtering out certain resources that might have certain certifications or certain capabilities in order that they get allocated to this particular job. As part of the view customisations we can also have a look at the work orders on a map, so we can see the proximity of any of the bookable resources that we have to the work orders and the installation locations that we might have. You can also see that those resource statuses are shown in different colours. So if you have a resource which is committed or in progress on a particular job, you'll see that shown. In fact, I've got another screen grab which is a lot more comprehensive of a number of resources that have been booked on jobs. And the current status of those jobs is shown graphically, so you can see the little slider bars on the top of each one of these windows. For example, here where we've got a piece of work which is currently in progress, but it's not yet complete. We've got other work which is upcoming and not commenced yet. And you can see that we've got gaps in the schedule because we have anticipated durations for each one of these particular work orders. And we can use this view to be able to drag and move any of these jobs between resources or even between time slots if we need to. So it's a very flexible way for the operations team to be able to allocate resources to jobs and to know exactly when those jobs are being done. The feedback that the operators get from the field is also near real time, in that when a field services person is out on a job, they'll update the status of their job, and that status will be reflected based on the colour which is shown here on the schedule board. So it's a great way for the operations team to know exactly what's going on, and they get that feedback from the field very quickly. So let's spend some time looking at the Field Services mobile application. Now, this mobile application is available across multiple platforms, so it's a very rich way of being able to get rich device support across the diverse range of hardware that your field services people might be using. So there's a rich Windows client that you can use. That client is available for Windows Phone, Android phones, iOS devices such as iPhones or iPads. They're all supported. The application provides you with online as well as offline capability, so that's built straight in. It means that if you're out in a remote location, you've still got access to all the information that you need, and any of the updates or changes that you make to that application, to that information, will be synchronized back to Dynamics 365 when you come back in range. You can customize the application to only show the information that you need those field services to see, and that customization and change in views is entirely dependent on the role that those field services might have. So let's have a look at a few examples. So this is how the Field Services mobile application on a phone looks by default. You have a variety of information that you can make available to those field services people. Everything from a list of accounts that you currently deal with, all the way through to the bookable resources and their bookings, contacts, which is a list of contacts, and remember, all this information comes directly from Dynamics 365, so you have a single source of truth for all of this information. You have more relevant information to the field services people, such as the customer assets that might be allocated to particular customers. Very important when it comes to warranty information. A list of products which is available, a map view of all of the entities and all of those either work orders or accounts which are sitting on the map, a list of activities which might have been allocated to you, and those activities may well result in the agenda or calendar bookings that you might have. If we looked at those calendar bookings or activities, we'd see a different sort of view. We could see that the view of list of activities which have been currently allocated to myself, and then activities that I might have undertaken, such as telephone calls, or activities which might have been given to me, such as an allocated call to make to a customer. All this information is entirely customisable. Here we're seeing a view, still on the phone, of a cut-down version of the field services application, which is only publishing the relevant information to the field services people. So in this particular instance, we've limited the information which is given to those field services people, so they don't see all of the accounts or all of the contacts. They're just going to see information which is completely relevant to them. In this view, we can see a list of the bookings which have been allocated to this particular field services person. So we can see there's 00033, which is a job which has been scheduled. We can see 00111, which is a job which has been completed. A little bit further down the list, we can see 00114, which is a job which is currently scheduled, and that's going to be the focus of some of the discussion that we have now. If we were to click up here on the map, we can also see a map of the locations for all of these work orders or jobs that might have been allocated to me, and I can see the proximity to me on the little blue dot over here, and the map shows the push pin of exactly whereabouts one of those jobs is going to be. If we go back to how bookings and have a look at our work orders, I mentioned that we were going to look at 00114 as being an installation work order that's been currently scheduled for me to do. If I have a look inside that work order, I get a lot of information about the work order itself, who the account is, exactly what type of incident or work order type this is going to be. In this particular example, it's going to be an installation work order. If I drill into that incident type or work order type, you can see I mentioned earlier on that we've catered for multiple different work order types. So in this instance, it's an installation work order or an installation incident, but we've also got the certificates of electrical compliance design work or the technical site inspection work that might have needed to be done during the course of qualifying that opportunity and providing a quote to the customer. We can also see other information about the work order itself. So there are shortcuts to a lot of this information based on the bar that's running across the top there. In this instance, we can see the address of where it is we're supposed to go. We can see on the map where this job is going to be. And we've also extended the mobile client to include some additional extensions, which things like the required documents that we have the field services people needing to complete in order to make sure that they not only prepare for this job correctly, but they follow any of the safe work safety standards that we might have. So let's have a look at something like the installation and commissioning checklist. So this checklist is an entirely customisable checklist which guides the field services staff through the sort of work they need to do. In this instance, because this is associated with an installation of some solar equipment, we've got a raft of different questions that we're asking these field services to complete answers to. Some of those are just yes, no, on-off type questions. Others rely on the field services people to make specific choices. Importantly, all of this information, as it's recorded on this work order, is going to be saved not only on this device but synchronised back to Dynamics 365. So any of the relevant people back at base can see these checklists have been completed correctly. And we can even report on trends or make adjustments to the checklist if we're finding that any of these questions aren't being well answered or even well understood. As I mentioned, all of these checklists are completely customisable. In fact, we'll look at an example in a moment of how we're doing safety management on site by a customised SWIMS document. Importantly, one of the things that I'm sure all of you have found is that the completion of checklists signatures on checklists and those sorts of things, it's very difficult for us to audit. When we do things like have sign-on glass capabilities, not only are we capturing the fact that we have a signature, but we also can audit all of the completion of these checklists and the signatures, which are all stored as part of Dynamics 365. So I mentioned one of the other extensions that we've made is to include safe work method statements or other documents that might need to be completed as part of this work order. Now these are entirely customisable lists which can be customised to make sure the way that you're doing your safe work statements and safe work methods are appropriate and also available to the field services staff. It's really all about making sure that they're safe on site and that we identify things that they need to know about the site before they get there, but it also provides them with the ability to make observations while they're out on site to record this information. The details, as I said, are synchronised back to Dynamics 365, so reporting and dashboarding and even document production can be performed. So if you answer various questions during the course of a SWMS evaluation or SWMS statement, they get synchronised back to Dynamics 365. If you need to produce documents, you can do exactly that with all of the answers that have come back from the field. All of the SWMS and other changes that we've made, they're completely customisable, so they can be made relevant for your organisations, and we still capture things like sign-on glass. We have that capability. One of the other things that we specify on the work orders is really the service tasks, which gives our field services people a bit of guidance as to exactly what they need to do on site, which might be very specific or peculiar to this particular job. They record the status of that information, and that's all synchronised back to Dynamics 365. In this particular instance, we've got a couple of service tasks that we've requested, such as the capturing of installation photos, and also making sure that the back-to-base activities of ensuring this commissioning of this equipment has occurred and been successful. So if we have a look at one of those service tasks, such as the capture of the photographic evidence that the installation has been done, we've also got other information that we can capture as part of this activity that might be important in us fine-tuning the way these activities are conducted in the future. We've got things like the conversion of this installation or equipment to customer assets. We can capture the actual duration as opposed to the estimated duration of this particular task. And we've got the ability for the field services people to be able to capture information using their device camera and have that captured as part of the work order and then synchronised back to base, so that photographic evidence and can be provided. So really that's a bit of a run through of some of the customisations that we've done to the mobile application. They all are entirely customisable to be relevant for your organisation and your specific use cases. With that, I think I'll hand back to Mark in order for a bit of a wrap-up of the session and to talk to you about next steps. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much, Graham. That was very comprehensive, and hopefully everyone on the call can see that the Dynamics 365 for field service solution is a very powerful solution for especially people in your business, and you'll see that the Artis group have modified it so it's applicable to the renewable energy sector, and we would love to talk to you further. We do have in market at the moment a quick start offering which is aimed at fixed price, fixed scope implementation of that solution, and we would love to talk to you further on it. So what we would do, if you're interested, is get in touch. I'd love to book a session with you so we can talk further and have a look at your business and how it applies. And but what I'll do is follow this slide. Thanks with my details, because I'd love you to contact me if you would love to discuss it further and really get down and talk about how we could put it into your business. So we've done this successfully in a number of places, and we would assure that we can help you out in your business. So once again, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for everyone for being here, and